Water may contain pathogenic bacteria, viruses, protozoa and parasites. The major sources of such organisms are untreated or improperly treated sewage, animal wastes, meat-packing wastes and some wild species. In developing nations, where the sewage treatment facilities are poorly developed, waterborne infectious diseases pose a special problem. In the United States, the leading water pollutant is sediment. It is a byproduct of erosion which has resulted from inefficiencies in timber cutting, agriculture, ranching, mining and construction. Sediments endanger the aquatic plants by destroying spawning and feeding grounds for fish, reduce fish and shellfish populations, destroy pools used for resting, smother eggs and fry, fill in lakes and streams and decrease light penetration.
Now, how was the wheel actually invented? What inspired men to invent the wheel? Well, this was all not sudden. It was a gradual change. Earlier humans did not have any methods to move heavy loads except for lifting them. However, men discovered that heavy things could be moved more easily if a round item like a tree trunk was placed underneath it so that the load could be rolled over it. Another way that humans found to move heavy objects was to use the sledge. Humans esteemed that a sled could be dragged to move a heavy load. When a sled and a wedge were put together, it led to the invention of the sledge.
The forward basic movement for salsa starts with a tap left on the first beat, a step forward on the same foot, a rock back onto the right foot, and the sequence is finished by stepping back left to close. This forward basic movement is followed by the back basic movement. Tap right, step back right, rock forward left and close right. Generally, the woman always mirrors the man's steps. So, while the man performs a forward basic movement, the woman performs a back basic movement, and vice versa. Throughout the world, there are variations on how the basic movements for salsa are performed, and there is also much controversy over which beat of the music you should break on, that is, change direction forward, back or side. Generally, all twins suffer from low birth weight and have a childhood of prematurity. Throughout they tend to be smaller than average. Another problem is twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome before birth. There the blood flows to the other twin, the donor twin is anemic and the recipient turns large and polycythemic, endangering both lives. Another problem, which makes the difference in identical twins, is epigenome, or the chemical modification that occurs in a person's genome, shortly after conception, causing diseases like cancer to one twin but not the other. The genes of one twin could be affected alone.
The sandy soil has the largest particles. The size of these particles does not determine the aeration and drainage that the soil allows. This kind of a soil is granular. It consists of rock and mineral particles that are very small. This soil is formed by the disintegration and weathering of rocks such as limestone, granite, quartz, and shale. It has a gritty texture. This soil is good for cultivation if it is rich in organic matter. However, it allows more drainage that otherwise is beneficial. Because of overdrainage, plants dehydrate very quickly. Sandy soil retains moisture and nutrients. So if you want to cultivate this soil, you will have to be regular with watering your plants in summers, and you will have to give a break to this soil in winters and rainy season. This soil warms up very quickly in spring. In a way, you can say that sandy soil is good for plants since it allows drainage of water and thus prevents water from decaying the roots.
Many species of birds cover long distances during their seasonal migration to warmer climates. But how successful are they, and do birds that get lost on their route ever manage to find their way back? Much research has been conducted into how birds navigate, and the results show that age is a significant factor. Young birds usually just carry on, if they lose their migratory path, and thus fail to reach their destination, whereas older, more experienced birds will generally be able to find their original route and continue successfully on their journey.
It seems we now know more about outer space than we do about the Earth's core. This is because temperatures are so high at the center of the Earth that human beings have not been able to take a close look at it. However, new methods of analysis may soon change all that. The seismic waves created by earthquakes and volcanic eruptions penetrate the Earth's layers at different speeds. It is now hoped that by studying these waves, scientists will be able to make new discoveries and solve some of the mysteries of the internal structure of the Earth. Social capital is a concept that was introduced by sociologists many years ago. It's actually the networks and resources that people use to deliver social outcomes. For instance, it might be holding a sporting event, running a community fete, being part of a club. It is difficult to measure social capital, and one way of looking at it is the extent that people volunteer in their local community. So you can consider the volunteering rate as an indicator for how healthy a community is. You can also look at something called the well-being index, the way people think about their lives and how trusting they are of others, their general perception of the value of their life.